Welcome back for another video. 42 points all out in quite a strange game week for me. A small green arrow to 54k with that score. I'm sitting on 3 free transfers despite spending a couple last game week. You might recall the 2 moves that I made last week were Gabriel and Gakpo coming in. One of those moves went fine. Gabriel ended up on 8 points, Timber ended up on 5. But to come away with literally 6 points between Van Dijk, Gakpo and Ekitike home to Burnley is pretty unbelievable. They're the worst team for expected goals conceded this season, and they're also one of the worst for expected goals, but yeah, blanks across the board. Gakpo did of course win a penalty, which Zobo smacked against the crossbar, so no assist points there. That's minus 52 points. Minus 52 points from missed penalties this season in my team, between goal and assist points. Mukiele assisting Lafay, easily the highlight of the game week though. I think there's nothing better, is there, when 2 players in your team combine for a goal. Mukiele also hitting DEFCON. He did get booked, but still a 6-pointer, despite no clean sheet and despite getting booked. Saka bench for Arsenal, Foden off at half-time, Captain Haaland blank. All things considered, I think quite fortunate to get a green arrow when 7 of the 11 blanked. My entire team actually played on Saturday, so it was a strange game week where I was all done by Saturday night. I was looking to buy Tavernier really soon, because he's got a goal and an assist over his last 2 games, but he did go off with a hamstring injury, so he might miss a bunch of games now. I think he's had 4 hamstring injuries at Bournemouth and he's missed 5, 4 and 8 games. Let's have a look at how you guys got on. FPL Fenerbahce deployed a back 5 which came off with a great decision to bench Thiago as well. He says, a solid game week on my return to the 5 back. 74 points all out with Captain Palmer as well. Steve says, my bench scored more than my starting 11 with 31. He had Lafay's goal, he had Gudmundsson's clean sheet, and he had Dorgu's goal and clean sheet bench. So starting 11 got 27 points and the bench 31 points. AKFPL says 24 points, 100% red arrow. One of those weeks where almost everything went wrong. The only return was Gabriel's high ownership clean sheet. Actually, did you know the Arsenal defence is about 140% effective ownership, because on average managers have got more than 1 defender or Raya. So that Gabriel clean sheet even hurt his rank a bit. Let's do one more, and this one is absolutely crazy. Dave says 100 points or net 96 all out after a hit. He used his bench boost and he had Dubravka's 5, Mukiele's 6, Krupi's 2 and Dorgu's 15 points on the bench boost, and Vert's captain as well for 96 points. Smashed it. So let's go through the team for Gameweek 23 and transfer plans. In goal, it's Raya versus a new look Man United team who are going to be high on confidence after being dominant winners in the Manchester derby. They're out of all cups as well, so I think Man United are a team that I'm definitely looking to reinvest in with a couple of players soon, Bruno at a minimum. Arsenal were winners midweek in the Champions League, winning 3-1 away versus Inter. Arsenal have won 7 consecutive Champions League games for the first time in their history now. In defence, it's Anderson, Gabriel and Van Dijk. Gabriel got a rest in that midweek game, which was good to see. This was how they lined up. So Timber did start. It was Mosquera and Saliba, the centre-back pairing. Saka started as well, and he did play 90, but I'm not personally concerned by that ahead of Gameweek 23. The clean sheet odds for Gameweek 23 have got Man City top 46%, and then Arsenal second 38%, Spurs third, Brentford fourth, and then Chelsea, Everton and Newcastle. I've got a tough call to make, and your thoughts are welcomed on this one in the comments. So do I play O'Reilly, considering he is a bit of a rotation risk, Man City shocking form, but obviously with the best clean sheet odds if he starts, or do I go with Anderson? Anderson's got Brighton home, but just a 24% chance for a clean sheet. Always a good chance of DEFCON points for him though, which O'Reilly doesn't have. He's averaging 10.85 DEFCONs per 90 this season, a 62% success rate as well, which is 3rd best in the league among defenders. It's just so hard to get a read on what Pep's going to do, bordering on him impossible maybe. Like Aït-Nouri is facing his old club, so maybe that's a factor. Though if it's going to be Gue's debut, which presumably it will be, then maybe Pep's going to value that English connection for the first match down the left side. It's not impossible for both Aït-Nouri and O'Reilly to start, since O'Reilly can play in midfield, or even Aït-Nouri can play in right back in a pinch. It all depends on Nunez though, who wasn't travelling in the squad midweek in the Champions League. O'Reilly and Cherki are just about the only 2 players that weren't terrible midweek as well, so maybe he's got a chance, especially after a rest last game week. It's not like it's 3 starts in a week for O'Reilly if he does start. Man City are just becoming such a headache right now, and they're in really bad form, so I'm looking to get rid of them soon, besides Haaland probably. Liverpool are the best team in the league for expected goals conceded over the last 6, though they have got some rough fixtures ahead before they get easier again. Given the good underlying numbers, I'm actually inclined to keep Van Dijk and just kind of focus transfers elsewhere right now. There are a lot of issues that kind of need fixing before him. I've got O'Reilly, Foden, Ekitike, Gakpo, Bar. So in that context, I'm just thinking keeping a nailed centre-back in one of the best defences isn't the end of the world. And it's not like there's other must-have defenders that I feel like I'm missing out on. Anyone out there still own Van Dijk as well? What's your plan? So in midfield, it's Gakpo, Foden, Saka and Lafay. It's the last week in the team for Gakpo and Foden. With hindsight, I really should have just gone straight to Enzo from Cunha, who got the assist as well. Albeit a bit of a fortunate one, just blocking a pass, which ended up an assist for João Pedro's goal. Burnley home at the time just felt like an opportunity to kind of attack that fixture. And in fairness, it was again one kick of the ball that caused the blank. Zobo missing that penalty, otherwise it's an assist and I would have taken that. I remember a lot of you commented, "Don't do it, Focal," when I said I was looking at Gakpo, and I should have listened to you. He's not even nailed on to start in Gameweek 23, by the way, given Liverpool do play midweek in the Champions League. At the time of recording, they haven't played yet, so I'm going to be looking at how they line up. So I didn't expect to have this thought, but do I even keep Foden for Wolves home? Doku and Semenyo got a rest in the Champions League. Semenyo definitely starts against Wolves. He's not registered in their squad, so he can't play Champions League. And assuming that Doku also starts, then does he really start both Foden and Cherki as well? It's not impossible, but I just really don't like the doubt there. Wolves are the 4th best defence as well for XGC over the last 6, so maybe that's a factor. Like, they have improved a lot recently. I don't think it's going to be a 5-0 type game. Foden owners, are you keeping him for one more game? Saka was benched last game week and he played 90 against Inter. However, considering the benching and the Tuesday to Saturday turnaround, there's absolutely no doubt for me that Saka starts, so there's no way I'm selling him before Man United home. Plus he's got Leeds, Sunderland, Brentford and the North London derby afterwards. Just a couple more games in the starting 11 for Lafay. He's been such a fun pick at 1% ownership. He was one missed penalty from returning in 4 straight games for me. West Ham away next. Now this is an absolutely huge game for West Ham, who haven't given up yet. They're 5 points from safety and there's still a long way to go after that win over Spurs last game week. Up front it's Thiago, Haaland and Ekitike. Captaincy is kind of a tricky one this week. Like, Haaland has now failed to score an open play goal for 8 consecutive games. He's not done that for, I think it's something like 7 years. They've only won 2 of their last 7 games in all comps, and they haven't won any of their last 4 league games. I've got Saka vice captain, and I think despite everything I'm likely to just stick with Haaland. It's not out of the question for Pep to really shake things up right now and maybe bench him for Marmoush, but you'd think he probably still starts Haaland. Are any of you looking elsewhere with captaincy this week? I'm almost certainly selling one of Thiago or Ekitike in Gameweek 24. Thiago's got some tough fixtures, so I think he is actually sellable after this game week, but right now Ekitike is looking likeliest. I still think he could be a good FPL asset when the fixtures become more favourable again. He's blanked in his last 2 league games, though obviously between those 2 games there were 2 matches he didn't play in, so it feels worse than it actually is. Man City are top for projected goals this week on 2.8, Arsenal second on 2.0, Liverpool and Newcastle 1.9, Chelsea 1.7, and then it's Brentford 1.6, so it's just not the week to sell them just yet. Gameweek 24 looking likelier. So on the bench it's Dubravka, Mukiele, O'Reilly and Bar. I've got 3 free transfers and there is a temptation to just remove that rotation risk from my team and sell Foden for Enzo. He's blanked for 6 league games in a row now and fans are calling for him to be dropped, and I just think if the deadline was in 10 minutes I'd probably do make the move. He did come off early in the Champions League but he wasn't having a great game, and if there's any team news on Gakpo not starting then I'll sell him instead for Enzo. Otherwise I think the plan is to roll, but I'm really thinking about Foden to Enzo. I just can't help but think someone's going to miss out definitely, whether that's Cherki or Foden. It's also hard to know if Doku definitely starts because I think he might be carrying a knock, so it's so difficult to predict. And I also wonder, does Marmoush come into the 11, whether that's for Haaland or someone like Foden or Cherki misses out. Difficult to say, but I'm really thinking about selling Foden this week, despite the amazing fixture on paper. One of the hardest skills in FPL nowadays is getting a good read on expected minutes and players starting or not starting, and if I can call that one right, the edge is massive there, because Foden's still something like 55% effective ownership around my rank. So let's say he theoretically doesn't start, comes on 1 pointer, then there could be huge points up for grabs. Especially when Enzo's playing against the Palace side, they're in disarray right now. They've just lost their captain and they're the third worst team defensively over the last 6 for XGC. Foden has started every game since Gameweek 4 though, so he has been nailed, but it just somehow feels like he could be due a benching soon, especially of course now they've got Semenyo, who's been added to the squad, and Marmish back from AFCON. So if I was to theoretically roll, I'd be on 4 free transfers in Gameweek 24, and that's where I'm looking at Foden to Bruno, Gakpo to Enzo, and possibly Ekitike to Watkins. Obviously if I was to buy Enzo this week, it actually makes no difference, because I end up with the same team in Gameweek 24 after transfers. The other thing I'm looking at, so I definitely would be doing Foden to Bruno and Gakpo to Ekitike, but I'm also looking at, on top of that, Ekitike to Krupi and then Bar to Mbumo. That does require 1 additional transfer, but it does fix Bar, who's been a dead spot in my team longer than I anticipated. And this is actually the thing about transfers and why you have to be really careful. You buy a player like Bar and you think, oh, they'll come back out in 3-4 game weeks, and you can end up stuck with them for a long time. So Krupi comes in, he could actually benefit from Tavernier's injury in terms of minutes. Maybe even gets pen duties, but I don't know. It could be Evan Nilsson. He's got a bad record though, so who knows. But I think Krupi's really nice for 4.6 mil. And then Mbumo, of course, played up top against Man City and had a great game. And he took his chance brilliantly. And United have really missed him. I quite like the idea of going double Man United mid from Gameweek 24. So it's kind of Watkins versus Mbumo for me. Hit subscribe below if you'd like to follow my team and transfer plans this season. I'll be back soon with more content. See you soon for the next one.